I'm very excited about this. This is the best part of my job. I get to interview lots of people, and I always end up asking way more questions than I think I'm going to ask. I'm just so fascinated by our users. So,
I love it.
to kick it off, Ricky, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you live, what you do for fun, all that good stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Ricky Camejo. I live in Parsippany, New Jersey. I'm 30 years old. I'm a senior operations manager for a software startup. Um, so I've been doing that for about 3 years. I actually used to be a full-time strength and conditioning coach from like 18, well, actually until about COVID, and then you know, as most of us, our lives, a lot of lives changed, and things changed. So I'm still kind of in that world, but now I have a full time corporate job, but I still do training and stuff on the side. My free time, I usually go to the gym 6 7 days a week, strength and conditioning. I do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Muay Thai, so a nice little like hybrid approach between my exercise, and then yeah, on the weekends for fun. Mostly I'm 30 now, so got about 5 to 10 weddings every single year. so, so that is
You're,
always fun. But aside from that, just spending time with family, working out, things like that. So
You're a professional wedding guest.
yeah,
I love weddings. I don't get to go to any anymore. I'm not sure if my friends just start getting married or what's happening, but I always think it's so much fun. I just really like dancing, so
yeah, they're
that
fun,
sounds
but
great.
all the bachelor parties and weddings, it's always good to get a little
Do,
break.
do you have a gift that you just give everyone that's standard? Like you just buy, toasters in bulk from Costco and just hand those out?
Or lots of cash, mostly.
Oh, right. I guess that makes more sense. Yeah, yeah. I
Lots
mean,
of cash. No, but you're right. The registry adding that's a common thing as well. Adding something from the registry. So I've done that as well for sure.
mhm. Just get everyone a toaster. That's what
Can't
I
go
would
wrong.
do.
Can't go wrong.
Or a training session. That's really cool that you do that. I think that would be really impactful. And then what kind of startup are you working for? What kind of software is it?
So it's like telehealth. So
Oh,
we
neat.
so we have our own platform that we integrate with other companies, and we custom develop those for whatever that company may be. So it could be insurance companies, it be clinical trials for genetic diseases. It could just be a way for providers and patients to interact using our platform. So we have like the video capabilities, messaging. We create sessions based on all of those things that the patients may have. It could be it could just be diseases, it could be blood pressure issues, heart issues, things like that. So I'm not developing. I'm on the developer side. I'm on the operation side. So a lot of client facing, day to day. We're a smaller company, so titles don't mean as much. It's like I'm operations manager, but I'm also implementation manager, project manager. You're doing this, you're doing that. You probably understand. Like like sometimes with much smaller companies like the one I work for, you're wearing 10 different hats.
Mhm.
But I do love it. So
Yeah, when I
can't.
started here 6 years ago, I wore many more hats than I wear now. And the hats that I wear now, I think
Fit you.
fit me better. I
Exactly.
like
Exactly. With
chatting with
growth.
our users. I get to do our podcast. It's the most fun. Like just hearing people. My last Whoop interview, um, I went way over time because the guy the guy was like a biohacker to the extreme, and I was just so
Oh,
fascinated. It's so cool. I just love
I love
what
that.
people are doing. Yeah. So, if you could tell us what made you start looking for a nutrition tracking app, and what made you land on Cronometer specifically?
So I've been tracking food for like a very long time. Like for some people, it's just super stressful, and some people don't do it. I don't know. I just kind of always enjoyed it for whatever reason, and I kind of lived that life. I was never, I always am happy, but I never kind of lived a lifestyle where I was so like stressed and just like, had to sprint out the door. Like I said, I was a trainer, so I had those hours, and now, I work a corporate job, but I have the ability to work from home most of the time. So, it allows me to do a lot more of those things a little bit more stress free than maybe someone who's commuting 4 hours a day. But I've always been tracking, and before finding you guys, I was using my Fitness Pal, and then I actually was um, having a conversation with like another strength and conditioning coach who was doing some programming specific for jiu-jitsu, and shared Cronometer app, and I downloaded it. I started playing around with it, and then I was fascinated because I actually ended up liking it. I actually ended up liking it way more because I was really just my Fitness Pal was strictly just using it for like macros, right? I just
Mhm.
all I cared about was those three numbers and my calories. And then once I started diving into Cronometer, I was like, oh wow, like all the micronutrients, my vitamins. Like I started taking a deeper dive into like all of the nitty gritty stuff because I love that stuff, but I just wasn't really using my Fitness Pal for that. It didn't have all of those capabilities. There wasn't much like integration
Mhm.
between that. So, because I also use a Withing scale, which you guys integrate, I think, with as well. So that's two things that I have. I think my stuff's carrying over from that. Um,
I should
so
know this. I have a little bit
so
of brain fog today, but I think so, yes.
yeah, I don't know if it. Yeah, I think. And then so I once I started playing around with it, I loved it. I loved the level of detail. It was very user friendly. So I it kind of worked out. I think my year was coming up. I think I just double paid. I was like, whatever, I'm done using that. And then I started using Chronometer.
You broke
So
up with my fitness pal. That's
yeah, we
awesome.
broke up, long relationship, but we're over it.
When a lot of people started coming over to us from my fitness pal, they had a streak feature. We didn't have a streak feature at the time. They have a streak feature, and people are like breaking like 1,500 day streaks, and I was like, wow, that is a commitment that people have made, and I love that. I think that a lot of our users have the exact same journey that you had, like basically just like calorie tracking, macro tracking at best, and then they're like, oh, there's all these things like micronutrients. And I think that what we see and what I see, I have a front row seat to most people's stories, is just like the energy people have and how they feel when they're making sure they get all their vitamins and minerals. It really is like what elevates people's health. So really stoked that you said the word micronutrients. That makes my community marketing management heart just expand 3 sizes.
Great.
Tell me why you chose Whoop.
So this goes back to 2020. I actually remember it like it was yesterday. So my one of my friends who I used to have a shore house with years back actually worked for Whoop, and
Cool.
and this was she was living in Hoboken, and right before like everything shut down, she because she was working for Whoop, she had a bunch of free bands. She had like I think a year free of the capabilities to track all my metrics. So I was like, yeah, I love this, blah blah blah. So I got it, used it for that first year for free, which that had to have been back in March or April of 2020, and then I did my 1 year for free, and then after that, I was like completely hooked. I've always I've always wanted to use like a fitness tracker. Like I had the strap, heart rate. Um, I've had some other kind of basic things, but they weren't like going into the level of detail in which I wanted to track. So I would always be like, whatever. Like, or I'd wear the chest strap sometimes just to like see my workouts, but I wasn't getting all of the other things that I wanted. Like sleep, heart rate, you know, all the capabilities that Whoop has, and it's grown a lot more since I joined in 2020 to now. So that's been cool to see. but I've always just wanted to track something. Like I just love the idea of having it on 24/7. Like I always talk crap to my Apple Watch people because like yeah.
Talk crap to me, Ricky.
No, I always talk crap to my friends because like no, because like while it's still holds value and whatnot, it's most people aren't using it for that, or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they've tried to like kind of I guess catch up and be, but it's just not the same. I don't think it's the same level of detail.
No.
I think it's good, right? If you're using it for just your phone time, whatever. But even a lot of people that have it, they're not wearing it all the time. They don't like sleeping with it. They take it
Mm-hmm.
off when they when they shower. It's not really truly measuring
Mm-hmm.
24/7, 365. Versus, and same thing, like going out, right? I want to wear a nice watch. I don't, you know, I have my whoop on the other side. So I just
Are you saying that the Apple Watch is not nice to look at? Like,
no, no,
no, it's
not at
fine.
all, not at all, not at
No,
all.
I'm giving you a hard time, actually.
No, go ahead. No, go
Uh,
ahead.
yeah, roasting
Well,
is my love language. But
I'm
it's funny
curious.
because a lot of the limitations that you mentioned, I experience. I do shower when I'm showering. I take off my watch and I do sleep with it. So I think that I am getting those insights. But up until recently, they didn't even have sleep tracking. Like I
Okay,
was using a
fair.
third party app. I actually tried Whoop. I listened to a podcast interview with the founder. He was interviewed by Nick Bear. I don't know if you know who Nick Bear is.
I don't.
Oh, you
Nick Bear.
should. Yeah, I'm a fan of his.
I
He's
might. Yeah. He's a runner. He's a run.
he
He runs
he
a lot.
he
He does
does
like a
run a
high.
lot. He's a hybrid athlete.
He
Yeah.
wears like a. He's wearing a hat. I think I know
He
exactly what you're talking
he
about.
owns BPN supplements.
Oh,
Bear,
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I have him on Instagram. I didn't recognize it when you first mentioned it, but
Hmm. He does the Nick Bear podcast, it's called now, and he interviewed the founder of Whoop. And I was like, I need to get one of these because I think Whoop was the first company, I might be wrong, but that started tracking HRV. And that gives you obviously way more insights into your recovery and that kind of thing. And
absolutely.
and so I did have a Whoop for a while. I was double dipping because I had an Apple Watch on one hand and then a Whoop on the other. And then I think at one point I even had an Aura ring on. That
Oh
is
wow.
since, yeah, I was testing them all, and I really liked some things that Whoop does. And then I lost the battery, like
Oh no.
yeah, I still to this day have no idea what happened to it. And so I just stopped using it. But I was interviewing someone else last week and he was showing me like what you can do with the journaling in Whoop. So I saw that there was a capability there. I think it's been expanded upon in the last 2 years for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
And
That.
he was like, when I have turmeric before bed, I sleep 4% better. And he's like, entering that in the journal, and then it's like pulling insights. And like Emily was on that call with me, and our guest left, and I was like, that might be the coolest thing I've ever seen. Because that's what I would love to see Cronometer do, is like when you eat this, you sleep better. When you don't eat this, you don't sleep as well. And Whoop does such a good job. Are you using those features as well? Like the
I
have you learned anything? I'm leaving our regular questions just because I'm so fascinated by these
fine.
features.
No, that's fine. No, I definitely use it a lot. Like my biggest one is like clean eating. Like I definitely notice a large difference. I think it's like I could check right now. I think it's like 14 or 15% better when I eat clean versus not. Like my recovery the next day. Yeah, so
What
clean eating. My recovery is 15% better. 77% sleep performance. 12 when I stretch. 7%. So like some of those things are cool to see because I honestly wouldn't even really know, right?
no.
Obviously the clean eating, that kind of makes sense in a way, but some of the other things, I would have never really guessed. And but then some of the things that do the opposite make sense too, right? Alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
15% worse. I almost wake up with a 1% recovery every time I drink. Um,
1%.
yeah, no,
Holy.
it's always in the red.
Mm.
Like if I one thing that's really helped me is because I do get like I can get hungry at night, and but if I eat closer to bed, if I have a late meal, my recovery is 8% worse. So like things like that, it helps me make
Mhm.
better choices versus if I wasn't using this to track, it wouldn't be in the back of my mind as much. So I probably wouldn't do it. Like I wouldn't stretch as much. I wouldn't pay attention as much to like, stop eating 2 to 3 hours before bed. Things like that I would have never paid attention to if I was not seeing these, statistics, data points in front of my face. So
I was just going to ask if that makes you action these things more. Like, are you more okay? And then,
absolutely, especially with the drinking too. Like
mhm.
it definitely like just makes you more conscious, more aware of like making bad decisions.
I we did these interviews too with Aura users, and they said the exact same thing when they had alcohol, that their like how it impacted sleep was so negative. And then I asked them, because I'm just again super curious, does that make you drink alcohol less? Are you less likely to consume alcohol because of the knowledge, or is it just like you just understand that the next day is just going to be
Yeah,
1%?
I'm, I am 30 now, so it's not the same as it used to be when I had to get up and get going. Like it was nothing. So, but yeah, it definitely does. It makes me more aware, more conscious, and want to make those better choices. Overall across the board. So, 100%.
That's amazing. I love that. I always wonder if like if something is presented to someone in a way they can't ignore, if they're more likely to do the things like and obviously in the nutrition space that we're in, I like it's cool that you know that if you eat within a couple hours before bed, you don't sleep as well. Like those kinds of insights go so far, I think. So
And
hopefully
it's
we
also a good selling point. Sorry to interrupt you. Were you
no, please
sorry?
do. No.
Oh no. No, I was saying it's also a good like selling point to people because like people who just maybe aren't in the fitness type health biohacking industry like that are just unaware. They're like, how do you even know this thing works? Like what I'm like, if you drink, your recovery will be terrible. It doesn't know that you drank. Like I'm not telling it that I drank. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what I mean? So it's also like a good selling point to people. I'm like, no, it is working. Like look. So it's kind of like a good selling point to people sometimes when they're like, how do you even know it's doing anything?
I've never
So
been asked that. That's so interesting.
yeah, it's
Uh,
for people. It's for people who like never like
mhm.
they maybe they don't work out. They've never used like any type of fitness tracking device, and it's just sometimes funny to be like, no, like look at these things, look at those things. So it's eye opening to people that are unaware of how these things work.
Well, I think it's so cool. And like being here at Cronometer, I've been tracking my food since I was a teenager, like with pen and paper. So this is all very like I'm very familiar with the lingo and I always have been. But when people start tracking and they like learn something, it could be, like tracking their nutrition or it could be wearing a wearable and they start like learning things. I'm like, you are on the precipice of hopefully, making more informed decisions that will impact how you age, how you feel, like all of those kinds of things. So I think that we're right on the brink of like everyone getting a lot more knowledge about their bodies through these trackers, and I think it's really cool. How
Absolutely.
long have you had the Whoop and Chronometer integration? Do you know? Like, I
Um,
don't want to put you on the spot, but
I guess I no, it's a good question. I think as soon as it was available, like because obviously I had Whoop way prior, right, 2020.
Mhm.
So whenever it became available, because whenever I started using, I think it might have. I think you guys might have had it like when I started with Chronometer, because I always see what integrations apps have with
Mhm.
other things that are being used.
Mhm.
So I might have connected it from the beginning. I personally don't know, so I'm sorry.
You don't need to apologize. Some of I mean, I wouldn't know when I integrated my Apple Watch with Chronometer, and I work here, so you're all good. Can you walk us through how you use the Chronometer app? do you prefer web, or are you exclusively on mobile? Do you log everything at once, or are you just like putting everything in at the end of the day? Like what are you doing throughout the day?
Yeah, so I do everything per meal. So because like I weigh things, so like it's not gonna. How am I gonna remember it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, 4 or 5 days. Like, I mean, not days. Like hours later. Like, oh, was this 120 grams? Or so. So I do it per meal, and then as I'm like making my breakfast or lunch or whatever it may be, I'll do it there. And then I also tried like, for a couple of days in a row, I might eat the same thing. Obviously, you make like maybe 2, 3, 4 days worth.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely utilize the copy and paste function. That's a big one for me, especially with tracking like all the vitamins and minerals. Like I put those within snacks, copy and paste it over each day. So that's one of the big things that I like is being able to, because that makes it a lot less stress free too, is
Mm-hmm.
having those things favorited, having those things that you just know you're taking on a daily basis, like vitamins and minerals or greens, or like, hey, maybe you've been eating the same breakfast every day for 10 years. So copy paste. If it's 5, 10 grams different, kind of make that quick, easy adjustment from what the weight was on the scale. So I found it a lot easier to use from that standpoint. Like if I had, if I had to put in every single thing every single day,
Mm-hmm.
you can see how that would kind of push people away. So the fact that you guys have that capability of being able to copy and paste the favorites, and things like that, it's huge. And then like the foods, I think you have more questions about that later on. But um, and what was the first part of the question that you asked? I think I missed it.
That's fine. Do you ever use web, or are you specifically
Oh,
on
that was
mobile?
yes, I'm 100% on
Mhm.
my iPhone.
Nice.
100% on iPhone. I haven't even like, to a point when you said that, I was like, oh wow, I should probably play around with it. I never even like used the web based version before.
There are some different features on the web versus mobile. I'm exclusively on mobile as well. Um, I track my nutrition every day as well, but I find it easier to like visualize trends and that kind of thing on the website
On the
version.
website. Okay.
Yeah, it just the bigger screen has way more data, and when you have as much data as I've accumulated to this point, like the charts can be a little tight. So
True.
I think
True.
that that's super helpful. And then you can
Okay.
like hover over different things and different things pop up, and yeah, I
I'll have to play around with it now.
you'll have to go on and check it out and let me know what you think.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I mostly just use mobile, but I feel called out when you said maybe you've had the same breakfast every day for 10 years, because I think I'm in a 6 year relationship with my jalapeno bagel and cream cheese, uh, which is great. Have you checked out the repeat items? Like the like we just introduced a feature, and I guess not just, but um, recently that you can just log things that you're eating every day on repeat items. Have you seen that?
I actually have not.
Okay, so I can send you something about that after. But
Absolutely.
yeah, so I have like the same. I have tea and bagel every day, and I just put it under repeat items, and then it just auto logs every single day. But you can go in and say like, I only want it Monday to Friday or whatever, and then it just automatically populates. Which if you're taking like supplements or greens or something like that, it'll save you time even over copy and
Yeah, I
pasting.
like that. You can do it per food, or is it per
Yes,
meal? Okay.
yes.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
because I
it's
usually will eat like the same thing. You like, maybe for a meal or two, like for the week, and then switch it up each week. When I
mm-hmm.
go food shopping on the weekend. So, that's definitely one I will start using, especially for breakfast. I'll definitely start using that.
Yeah, it's a time saver for sure. And I mean, you probably have it down to a couple of minutes a day. Like I know people think that tracking has to be this like long, tedious process, but when you've used that for a long time. But I do love that you weigh everything. That's incredible. I also try to weigh everything. I think it's more accurate. And then I just like zero out my scale. Is that what you do when you're adding different things?
Yep. You're on scale.
Nice. Nice.
So
That makes
you're
me
on
so
the
happy. I love speaking with people that speak my language this way because most people are like, whoa, weighing your food. And I'm like, I used to measure everything, but it actually is way more dirty dishes. Like, there's no dirty dishes when you have a scale. So,
I was arguing. I was telling my mom, I was like, Mom, you got to start just measuring in grams. You don't need
mm,
13 spoons of
yeah.
all these different things. Just go with the grams. Your life
Mhm.
will be easier.
And it's so much more accurate. And
Absolutely.
it makes a big difference too. Like getting that level of detail. I mean, on some like foods that I make, 100-gram difference is so significant. Like I really like cheese. So, so you can get out of hand. Like, if you said to someone what's 30 grams of cheese, I think that most people would have
Would
way more than 30 grams of cheese. So
I 110% agree with that.
mhm.
And then yeah, tracking your food, it helps you be a little more conscious when you're out or something. If you're obviously going to be in times where you don't have the ability to weigh,
Mhm.
but knowing what things look like when you're at home helps you kind of make those better decisions. Like if you're out at a restaurant, like or something, like not getting as much cheese like at Chipotle on your bowl, for example, like things like that. It definitely helps you just like stay in line because to your point, right? People would just over 30 grams. They're probably putting like closer to 100 if you
I
have that.
know.
So it's good to I like that the fact of weighing just to have a better understanding of what it's supposed to look like. So
Me too. I think that it goes such a long way. And like I said, less dirty dishes. So it's just win 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 for me.
win win win.
Win win win. What advice would you offer someone that is syncing Cronometer and Whoop together?
So they don't have either.
No, that they just started. They're on Cronometer and Whoop. Like what things did you start doing when you started using Cronometer with Whoop?
So the first thing I did was I was played around with the calculation of my because just trying to cut down on some pounds. So using the integration with some of the different types of methods you guys can use with your calorie counting. So I think it's like the Mifflin uh,
St. George.
equation,
Mm-hmm.
St.
Yep.
George, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that one, and then being able to kind of put some of your own customizable numbers in there. Um, Coming in each morning and being able to just see, my recovery that I've had from what, automatically carry over was a big one for
Mm-hmm.
me as well. So that was good. And then also the exercise. That's a big one for me because knowing what using the methods, but then kind of seeing kind of where my limitation may be each day based on how many calories I burned in my workout, that's automatically being pulled into Cronometer as well. So it's like, if you guys didn't have an integration, right, I'd kind of be doing some guesswork,
Mm-hmm.
maybe doing some additional math or trying to get a better picture of how many calories I burn versus what my allowance is, and knowing I'm in a proper deficit. Like all of that's taken care of, right? I just have to like look.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to look, and now I know when I'm tracking through your app. It's like I don't have to go back and forth. How many calories did I burn? Blah blah blah. I'm just using Cronometer, seeing what that number is, and making sure that I stay within that deficit. So
Have
big
you
one for me.
have you reached any specific goals because of the integration? Like you said initially that you had a weight loss goal. Did like tracking your nutrition and your workouts
Abs-
help?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, still, the goals are never finished. The job's never finished, right?
It's not.
Where the job is never finished. We're always striving to be better. But I will say that in the past, I've definitely been more prone to fail because there were so many other manual things that I had to complete versus since the integration with Whoop Chronometer, being able to kind of just have everything in like a one-stop shop, like as far as from a nutrition perspective, makes reaching the goals easier because when things get stressful, a lot of people give up. That's why
Mm-hmm.
people fail with their diets or fail with certain things after that 30-60 day period because it starts to get stressful. So being able to have that integration and having a lot of the things that I used to have to do manually done for me makes it 100 times easier for me to stay on track. So instead of falling off at a certain period or having a couple bad days here and there, it makes it more consistent, overall picture, just having it done for me, right? Because the way the world we live in now, everybody wants everything kind of quick, easy in front of them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where obviously technology has taken us. So this was just like another example, of that, and then it just helps me stay on track and not fall off.
I was just saying that today to Sam and Emily. We were having a chat before this, and I was just saying, like, it's one thing for us to have all this data because we do, but then to just give the information to people really easily, I think is like the next step. Like, we have everything people need to make like very informed decisions, but sometimes people are like, I don't know what this means. And I think you're right. I think that the world today, we are used to information being consumable immediately. And I think that like having insights like Whoop is providing you goes a lot longer that way. So I'm really hoping that in the future, hopefully soon, that we can kind of have more insights like, oh, Ricky, you had tuna today, and because of that, you hit your protein goal earlier in the day. Like
Yeah,
those kinds of things, I think go a long way. So that's awesome. What is
cool.
the biggest change, positive change, that you've noticed since you've started using Cronometer with Whoop?
Um, Kind of goes back to some of the things I said prior, like just overall being stress free. Because like I said in the past, when I was tracking, it did get to points where it was stressful because I was doing a lot more like manual effort. Obviously, you still have to log your food, but all of the features that you guys have integrated makes my life easier. It makes me want to track my food. It makes me more prone to actively hitting those goals. Like just kind of going back to some of the things like the copy and paste, the feature that you have. I definitely create a lot of recipes
Mm-hmm.
in there. Use that. I use meal prep services sometimes, so adding all of those into the foods group, and I track those that way. Like it's just made my overall experience with tracking food simple,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't really think about it as much versus in the past. There would be a little bit more stress to it because I just because of the like additional work, or maybe I'm rushing or whatever. But now, like I'm probably spending, like I think you mentioned, I'm probably spending less than 5 minutes a day. I might like open the app and just look at it because I'm bored at work and spend 40 minutes on just like staring at different things and looking at my macros. But as far as the actual work that is done, it's a very quick and simple process. And then the integration, with like you said with Whoop is like all that data that I already have there pulling in
Mm-hmm.
is super helpful as well. So it kind of minimizes the back and forth of having to
Mm-hmm.
do something versus how I was tracking in the past. I was like everything, nothing was integrated, everything was all over the place, so it made it a little bit more stressful than it is now.
I think it's really freeing, which, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but a lot of people, they're like, it's really restrictive. And I'm like, for me, it's honestly the opposite. And I think that sometimes I eat less because I'm like, whoa, I had a lot of, calories from cheese, for example. But oftentimes I'll end up eating more because I'm a pretty active person. I get to the end of the day and I'm like, you've burned, 1,200 calories over your BMR today. You better have a snack before you go to bed. Otherwise, tomorrow you're going to be a monster. So, so,
Absolutely.
so I think that those kinds of things are actually really freeing, and I love like you said, like the real time data of like knowing how many calories you burn after a workout, and I think that's the key for me. I've maintained my weight for quite a long time, and I think that I wouldn't be able to in the same way if I didn't have an integration. Has anything surprised you about your nutrition? Did you identify any gaps? Were you not getting something that you thought you were getting a lot of?
um I'll tell you, it definitely puts into perspective on like the calorie density of foods, like for example, like when you're eating out,
Hmm.
right? Tracking some of those measurables seem a lot less than they actually are, as just from like a size standpoint, because restaurants and other places are they're using more of oils or whatever
Yes.
they may be using. So it helps me that when going out to eat to know that, hey, these X, Y, and Z foods are going to put you way over, certain macronutrients, right? Like we know that if you're going out to eat, like going over your fat and carbs can be done pretty easily,
Hmm.
just by making some small choices that you may not have been aware of prior. So tracking all of those and just having like a better overall picture of prioritizing like better macronutrients, like protein, for example, right? That's probably one that most people undereat
Hmm.
versus eat the right amount of. So that's one that, like for me, right? I'm 200 pounds, so like trying to get, it's a little bit harder to get that much protein in versus maybe someone who's much lighter. So using the app, and then while being out making better choices like at restaurants, so that I'm like hitting my protein goals versus easily going over my like fat and protein, uh, has been a big help. So
Hmm.
I like that.
I think dining out, it's probably my most frequently asked question now is people are like, how do you dine out and track? And I'm like, well, there's like different methods, but whatever you do, make sure you add like 4 tablespoons of butter because the amount of, yeah, like you said, like cooking oils is actually astonishing. um One day I'd like to like go back in a kitchen in one of our local restaurants and like actually see how much cooking oil they're using, because I think I tend to overestimate whenever I can,
Same.
when I'm dining out, just to err on this side of caution. But yeah, you just never know. So I'm like, this could be 700 calories, this could
Yeah.
be 1500 calories,
Exactly.
depending on how oil happy the chef is.
The chef. Exactly.
That's really all of the questions I have for you. Just one more, I guess, would be, what's the main reason you would recommend Chronometer over other apps? I think you've already kind of touched on it, but if we could finish off with that one, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, I mean, I think whether you are a serious fitness enthusiast or you're just kind of your average Joe who's maybe just trying to, burn a burn a couple extra pounds, or maybe you're trying to gain, I think that even though the level of detail within the app, like it's great, right? You're getting into the nitty gritty of like each and everything that you'd want to, but at the same time it's also super user friendly where it's not difficult to use. So I think for someone who, like I said, whether you're very serious or whether you're just someone who wants to get into the tracking, I think that it's easy for and each of those groups to utilize because the app is user friendly. So I think that's a big piece. And if you're someone who is new and you're just starting out, right? Like you can easily just start with like tracking your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, only paying attention to, the calories. And then as you get more acclimated, start diving in deeper to some of the other things like the micronutrients. And that will maybe keep the people longer versus with some of the other apps. It's like, okay, I'm just doing this. You get bored with it. Okay, I'm done using it. But with Cronometer, you can kind of start at like, call it like a level one for someone who's maybe not doesn't know as much, and then as you kind of build that knowledge base, start to use, like I haven't even dived like into everything yet, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
like just like you spoke about with the reoccurring meals, like there's always more to continue to kind of use, and I think that will help keep people longer as opposed to having less features, not making as many updates, and
Mm-hmm.
users getting kind of bored.
I agree with you. We're actually we plan out our themes for the year, and one of the things that we're doing this fall is just exactly what you said. Like, some people come here, they might feel overwhelmed, but they only have to track their calories, and they don't even have to track it every day. And then hopefully
Exactly.
we can educate people on macronutrients and the micronutrients and get everyone feeling as good as they can. So that is literally the user journey that I hope everyone takes, is what you have done. So there is hope. Obviously,
There's
if
hope.
if you and I can do it, then I hope that everyone can do it. But
Absolutely.
you've been so great to have on here. Love picking your brain. Really appreciate you making the time to do this.